How's it going, everybody? I'm back. I am not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. If you want legal advice, please contact an attorney. I am really a guy that's gotten enough tickets to know pretty much my way around the system, since they're so crooked and corrupt. I know what to say and how to do it, and of course I don't know it all by any means, however, far from it. But I'm making this video because I had a friend, a very close friend, who asked me, well, what would you do, or what could I do if I were in a situation where I got stopped by the cops? Let's just say they stopped me for speeding, or because I was swerving, or because they just want to stop me just to see because I'm a certain color. I said, well, look, okay, number one, don't admit anything, okay? And then I said, you can't admit anything. When the cop stops you, I used to do a lot of stupid things, and I would say, well, you can't do this, you have no warrant, you're violating my rights, and blah, blah, blah. When in fact, it was because I was young and ignorant. Now that I'm a little older and more experienced, I realize cops, it's not their fault. They don't know any better. They're trained this way, and they're actually trained inadequately on purpose. Because if they're violating your rights and you don't know them, they're not violating your rights. They're just doing their job, right? You know, that's just how it goes. So I told this person, I said, well, look, I said, if the cop ever stops you, number one, okay, they're going to ask you, do you know how fast you were going? Say, with all due respect, you know, I'm not going to answer that question. I believe it intends to incriminate me, and I'm not going to answer that. That'll throw them off. And they were like, okay, well, that makes sense, but, you know, why would I say that? I said, because in reality, if you say, you know, oh, you know, I don't know how fast I was going, then now it looks like you could have been speeding and not known it. Or if you say, yeah, I know how fast I was going, they're going to ask you, well, how fast were you going? You know, it just gets you into a dialogue that you don't need to get into. You know, you just want to get this over with as quickly as possible, and, you know, you get the hell out of there. I said, the next question they're going to ask you, well, how do you know the speed limit? Or do you know what the speed limit is? And if you say yes, or if you say no, okay, let's go both ways. If you say no, then you could have once again been speeding and not known it. If you say yes, I'm going to ask you what the speed limit was. And then I told this person, I said, but you could have seen the speed limit like about a minute ago, and it could have changed and you wouldn't have known it. And now if you say this, and it's something else even lower than that, you just admitted that you were speeding, even though you weren't, or you were. So why am I going to incriminate myself in any way, shape, or form? So I don't admit anything. And then they said, okay, well, that makes sense. And then the person said, well, I saw you in a video, and, you know, the officer asked you for your address, and, of course, you already had your driver's license, and, you know, I thought you were smart ass for saying, well, you know, it's on my driver's license. Or isn't it on my driver's license? I said, well, look, the reason why I did that is because a lot of people don't seem to know this, but they're going to ask you for your address only because they want to see how many things they can tack on to the citation, how many charges. And the person was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, look, if your address is different, for example, let's just say your license is old, right? And you just moved about a week ago. Well, you've just committed a crime or a violation of the vehicle code, one of the two. I can't remember which one it is, because for the simple fact that, number one, your driver's license does not have your current address. That's a violation. Now, number two, you're going to have to admit it. Because once you say your address was this, then they're going to say, you know, now they have, like, authority over you. Like, well, you know, you have to do this, and it's not current, and, you know, it's I can go ahead and give you this, but I'm not. I'm going to be nice and only screw you this way, you know. I said, why do that? Just, you know what, with all due respect, whatever address is on there is on there. They're going to ask me, is that my current address? With all due respect, I'm not going to answer that. I believe it intends to incriminate me, and I have a right to not incriminate myself, so I plead the fifth. Yeah, excuse me, officer, am I going to get this ticket or not? With all due respect, I'm in a hurry, but, you know, if you want to go ahead and take your time, you can. I can't stop you. That's it. And the person was like, well, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah, well, just remember, when an officer is asking you questions, it's not because they want to be your friends or, you know, they feel bad for you, because obviously they're trying to get more money out of you. It's called double taxation, really. Taxation without representation. And the person was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, do you pay taxes? Of course. Okay, let's just say you get a ticket in your city. Okay. Well, don't you pay taxes in that city? Oh, yeah. It goes to the state too, right? Yeah, okay. Let's just say. Well, what happens is you're paying taxes, and then after the people that are making money, their salary is coming from your taxes, is going to come back and pretty much tax you again by making something up or charge you with whatever they want to charge you with. And now you got to go pay in court. It's really double taxation. And the person was like, well, I never thought about it that way. I said, well, most people don't. So anyways, once again, don't admit anything you can't, because in the end they're always trying to get some kind of information out of you so they can add more charges, eventually somehow take your car from you without a warrant when they're not authorized to. But because they do it, people think, well, that's the norm, that's what they do, it's not illegal. I was born this way, and ever since I was born I'd seen them take cars left and right. But of course they're not going to put this in the media where people are suing them for a couple $1,000 because their cars got taken away without a warrant. They can't do that. Look up the Constitution. Remember, I made a video about how I make a motion for trial by jury and I use the Constitution? Well, if you look through the Constitution, Bill of Rights, you'll see there it says that no person shall be seized or property taken or something to that effect, or property seized without a warrant. But do they ever have it? No. So keep that in mind, people. And once again, I don't admit anything. Hopefully you guys have learned from what I told my friend. And once again, this is not legal advice. If you're gonna follow anything that I told this person, you do it at your own risk, because you know what, nowadays if you tell an officer, excuse me officer, with all due respect, I'm not gonna answer that question, they might actually put their hand on the gun and say, you better. What are you gonna do? See, you can't do anything like that. Just like when you want to walk down the street and someone comes at you with a gun and you say, you know what, that's a violation of Penal Code so and so, and it's also a crime. Does that mean they're going to stop? No. Their intentions are they're going to do what they want to do. Same thing with peace officers and judges nowadays. They're going to do whatever they want to do. So keep that in mind. And I'm not saying all cops and judges are bad, but I prefer to be prepared and assume that they are, not because, I'm going to go ahead and fight against them or curse at them. No, I just mean because that means I have to watch my mouth and be careful with what I say, because anything I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. Godspeed.